What's going on, guys? It's Bruce Matson, your host show of Metric Scout Fantasy Football, and we're getting ready for the college season to kick off. We already had week 0, but week 1 is here, and I'm going over some of my favorite games, and this game I'm going over is Ohio State and Minnesota. Obviously, I'm a Buckeye fan. I can talk Buckeyes all day. As you can tell, the content is really Buckeye heavy compared to other collegiate programs. I do have a lot of Alabama, Oklahoma, and all that stuff. But Ohio State's where it's at for me. But it's not a bias of what you think. I'm pretty critical of them. I'm a critical bias. Everything they do, in my eyes, is wrong for some reason. But I'm here to break it down from a Devy fantasy football perspective, along with my thoughts of the potential outcome of the game. But what I'm really excited to see from this game is the transition between Justin Fields and C.J. Stroud. We've seen C.J. Stroud play balls out. We've seen him make tough throws. We've seen him compete at a high level in spring games and whatnot. But we haven't seen him string it together for a large sample size. I'm excited to see that. I want to see his relationship with Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson. Also want to see how Jackson Smith-Njigba has stepped up, has developed over this past offseason. And then also want to see the snap share distribution between Emeka Egbuka and Marvin Harrison Jr., how much they're getting incorporated into the game. And I want to see what Julian Fleming's got. So there's a lot in this wide receiver unit that's important, and how it gels with C.J. Stroud. All of these guys, C.J. Stroud's a fairly high-end Devy prospect at the quarterback spot, considering where he's at Ohio State, his mobility, and the weapons he got to work with. His stock could go through the roof if he has a good year. Chris Olave obviously is going to be going into the draft this year. High-end wide receiver prospect, should be one of the top wide receivers drafted. A lot of people like him coming out. He has good tape. I think his tape is great. Good hands, good route runner, can separate. And then we also have Garrett Wilson, who may be the better of the two. He's kind of underrated from a national standpoint, but he's a very solid wide receiver. Wouldn't be surprised if he jumped into the first round of the actual NFL draft if he came out this year. But he is another fascinating prospect for me. I'm a big Garrett Wilson fan, actually. Also, when it comes to these wide receivers, all of them are hits in Devy. Everybody wants a piece of this wide receiver unit. Jackson Smith-Njigba, he's probably going to be the next man up once Olave and Garrett Wilson are gone. So we could see him emerge. And he may emerge this year even with those two guys playing, because he has demonstrated he's got some skills. He can run good routes. He's a very crisp route runner. He has good hands. He's made some fantastic catches already. And with a larger share of the touches, larger share of the snaps on the field, there's a good chance that we could see him explode in year 2. And also, Fleming, Egbuka, and Harrison Jr., those are 3 young prospects ready to cut their teeth. We could see them also do something this year as well. Those guys' stocks, Devy Fantasy Football, real college football, NFL draft, whatever you want to call it, those guys' stocks are on the rise in the future. One of them, more than likely, I would think Julian Fleming may not hit, but I feel very good. If I had to pick between the 3, I feel very good with Marvin Harrison Jr. He is my favorite out of that young bunch, that bottom tier, or that second string of wide receivers there. I like Marvin Harrison Jr. a lot. I like his crisp route running. I like everything I've heard from him out of practice. He sounds like he's making a lot of big plays. He was the first rookie to lose his black stripe this offseason, and his high school tape was really good too, how he could set guys up before making his break while running his routes. Good hands, good bloodline, obviously, with the name Marvin Harrison. So I like him. I also like Emeka Egbuka. I like Emeka Egbuka ahead of Julian Fleming. I think he's more athletic. I think he's more explosive. I think he's more dynamic. Also, another player to keep an eye on who could see a good rise in value is Jeremy Ruckert at tight end. There's some people who are high on him in Dynasty Fantasy Football. And also, he was a high-end prospect coming out of high school. The tight end position isn't really used much at Ohio State at a volume standpoint, but he still does hold some value. So long-term wise, Jeremy Ruckert's another guy to look at. G. Scott, former wide receiver, is transitioning to tight end. I'm interested to see how he develops. I was very interested to see how he developed as a wide receiver. More interested now, see how this goes for him as a tight end. But I got my eye on him. I like G. Scott. I don't know if we'll see much of him tomorrow or not. Probably not. It'll probably be a Jeremy Ruckert show at tight end. But we know what's over the horizon with him. He may be incorporated a little bit. When we get on to the running backs, mainly long-term for fantasy purposes, especially for Dynasty Devy, Trayvon Henderson's the guy for me, and it's not even close. Evan Pryor, too. I think Evan Pryor's underrated, but I'll talk about Trayvon Henderson first. Trayvon Henderson, 5-star recruit, has speed to burn, is expected to take a big stride in this offense as early as this year. We don't know the snap share that he's going to see this year, but we do know that he is going to end up being a focal point, and his stock in Devy's already pretty high, but if he just shows some promise this year, puts up some stats, his value is going to go through the roof. Also, I just spoke of Evan Pryor. I think he's underrated. I think he can catch the ball in the backfield. I think he's got speed to burn. He has a good 100-meter time. I covered his high school film on this channel a few months back, and the more I watch him, I've been watching him some more. The more I watch him, the more I like him. It may not hold up well for long-term Dynasty fantasy football, but as a Buckeyes fan, the depth there is good to have. For an Ohio State fan, Evan Pryor is a good guy to have on your roster. Now let's talk about Mayan Williams. He's expected to get a large share of snaps, touches out of the backfield as early as week 1 here against Minnesota, but I don't see him as a long-term Devy asset. However, I think he can hold up well in his offense. He showed some promise when given the opportunity in limited touches. Master Teague's the wild card because I've heard everything is him being the second-string guy. I've had guys in my comments telling me he's the fifth-string guy. A lot of people are low on Master Teague. He had an Achilles injury last year. That's kind of set him back. We were high on him a couple years ago, but honestly, he has been proving us wrong again ever since. So it's hard to be in on Master Teague until he proves otherwise. We also got Marcus Crowley. He's been doing some stuff. But this running back corpse for Ohio State, the guy that you want to focus on right now for Dynasty Devy fantasy football purposes is Trayvon Henderson. On the other side of the ball for Minnesota, it is not as sexy as what it used to be. Tyler Johnson's gone. Rashad Bateman's definitely gone. Tanner Morgan's there. He showed some promise throughout his career, especially early on, but it looks like it's fizzling out. I wouldn't consider him a high-end quarterback prospect at all. He may float around the NFL a little bit, but my eyes on Muhammad Ibrahim, running back for Minnesota. I feel like he's been on the team forever, but he's been productive. He looks good with the ball in his hand. He's a good running back. A wide receiver, Chris Autumn-Bell's the guy I want to look at. He's been dealing with an injury, so I don't know if he's going to be suiting up for this game. He might. Well, at least look at him for the long term down the road this season. When it comes to this game, I think Ohio State is going to blow out Minnesota. I think they're going to blow them out handily, and they should. One thing to note, but this isn't really a factor usually in the Ryan Day era, is Ohio State does like to piddly around with some of these easier matchups and let them believe they're in the game up to like second, third quarter. That could spark an upset sometimes, but usually doesn't. Usually makes Ohio State fans pretty upset. But we could see that. We could see it close for a few quarters or longer than it should before Ohio State starts pulling away. That's always in the cards with Ohio State, but not really in the Ryan Day era, thank God. But I expect Ohio State to blow out Minnesota. I expect them to blow them out. With C.J. Stroud starting this year and the transition from Justin Fields, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw some hiccups early on from them. That could prevent Ohio State from blowing them out. That could prevent them from just handing Minnesota an ass whooping. However, I don't see it, but it's on the realm of possibilities. But you never know. But I'm excited to watch this game. I'm excited to watch these prospects play and get at it. But I want to thank you for watching the show, sticking with me. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on the way out. Every subscription fuels me to keep doing these videos, pumping out this content, sharing my knowledge with you. If you have something about these players you want to talk about, or you're interested, you want to talk Ohio State, Minnesota, anything. I like all the teams pretty much because I'm a Dynasty fantasy football nut, nerd, whatever you want to call me. Drop in the comments. If there's a player you want me to do a review on, let me know. I'll accommodate you. But I want to thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.